It was in Kunzelzau, a small, idyllic town in the Hohenlohe district of Baden-Württemberg in Germany, surrounded by gentle hills, vineyards, and that typical Swabian charm. Here, at the Ganabin Gymnasium, began a story that would later touch and inspire so many people. The true love story of Tino and Evelin. Tino was 11 years old and in 6th grade. A bright boy with a sharp mind, especially strong in math and the natural sciences. He wasn't the loudest in class, but he was reliable, helpful, and had a quiet faith in Jesus that he received from his parents. His family belonged to a small free church on the edge of town, where the services were warm and deeply biblical. One morning, after the first 4 or 5 weeks of the school year, a new girl entered the classroom. Evelin was also 11, shy, with big, attentive eyes, and a slight accent that revealed she had just moved there. Her parents had changed jobs, and everything was new for her. The school, the town, the people. The class teacher introduced her and asked the room, "Who would like to show Evelin around, take care of her, and explain how things work here?" Silence. No one raised their hand. There was an empty seat next to Tino. The teacher smiled and said, "All right then, you can sit next to Tino. He'll look after you, okay?" And so it began, completely unspectacular, with an empty chair and a simple instruction from the teacher. From the very beginning, the two helped each other. Tino patiently explained everything that had happened in class during the first weeks, the rules, the teachers, the homework. Evelin was a natural talent in German and English, and she helped him in return with essays and vocabulary. He was good with formulas and experiments, she with texts and languages. They complemented each other perfectly, like two pieces of a puzzle. Soon they didn't just go to school together, but also explored the town. Tino showed her the hidden corners of Kunzelzau, the old market square, the paths along the Koker River, the little cafes, and the hills from which you could see far across the countryside. Evelin absorbed everything like a sponge. She learned quickly, found her way around, and grew more confident. And they became inseparable. Both were believers. Soon Evelin asked if she could come with Tino to the Sunday service at the small free church. Her parents were initially skeptical, but allowed it. Later, even her parents joined. The families got to know each other. The parents on both sides always spoke about the relationship with great caution. "You are still children," they said. "A relationship at this age? It's too early." At home, there were some arguments and serious talks because of it. But the two were not deterred. They remained friends, best friends, who could talk about absolutely everything. About God, about doubts, about dreams, about everyday life. When they were 14, Evelin noticed it first. She had fallen in love, really in love. Tino was no longer just the boy from the neighboring seat. He was the one who made her heart beat faster. She didn't tell him. For Tino, she was simply his very best friend, the person with whom he could laugh, be silent, pray, and learn. The years passed. Through mutual support with homework and preparation, both achieved well above average grades. They stayed together through all the ups and downs of puberty, through class trips, through their first exams. Nothing fundamental changed until graduation. They were a team. Then came the time to choose studies. Tino wanted to study physics. The world of atoms, forces, and the mysteries of the universe fascinated him. Evelin wanted languages, focus on English and Spanish, later perhaps teaching or translation. They searched and both found their universities in the same place, Heidelberg in Germany. The old university town with its famous Ruprecht Karls University offered everything. A strong physics institute for Tino, and excellent English and Romance studies programs for Evelin. It felt like a gift. In Heidelberg, their relationship became deeper. They were often alone together, but they also had a circle of friends. Many asked about their story. You've known each other since 6th grade? Seriously? Evelin would always smile and say, I know today that I fell in love with him shortly after I arrived. At 11. I just never said it and only realized it later. Tino hadn't noticed for a long time. Only about halfway through the 13th grade, in the first or second semester, did he realize it himself. This was more than friendship. He had fallen in love with her long ago without really noticing. It had simply grown, quietly and deeply. Despite all the studying, their relationship became close. After about 2.5 years of studies, they decided seriously. They wanted to get married. And they did. A small, warm ceremony in their free church in Kunzelzau with family and close friends. They moved into a tiny apartment together in Heidelberg, inseparable. Soon, a child was on the way. Evelin just managed to finish her studies, with flying colors. Then came the first child. In quick succession, 3 more followed. 4 children in just a few years. It was exhausting, but they mastered it together. Tino finished his studies and got a position at a physics research institute, a dream job that allowed him to combine family and career. Their friends watched all this with amazement. Many shared their lives with them. Barbecue evenings during their shared apartment days, later family celebrations, walks with strollers. Tino and Evelin were role models, not perfect, but fully in life. There were highs, birthdays, Christmas celebrations, shared prayers. There were lows, sleepless nights with sick children, financial difficulties, moments when their own children challenged them and they wondered if they were doing everything right. But they stuck together, with Jesus at the center. The years flew by. The 4 children grew up, experienced their own ups and downs, graduated, moved out for studies or training, and later started their own families. Tino worked for many years at the Physics Institute of Heidelberg University in the Neuenheimer Feld, first as a research assistant, later as a permanent researcher in a team working on quantum optics and molecular physics. Evelin, after graduating in English and Romance studies with a focus on English and Spanish, found a position as a lecturer and translator, first at the university, later freelance with a focus on specialist literature and intercultural communication. Both balanced career, family, and faith with a lot of love, a lot of prayer, and many compromises. There were more difficult times, phases when the children rebelled and the parents wondered if they had done everything right. There were also wonderful moments, family vacations together by Lake Constance or in Spanish-speaking countries that Evelin loved so much. Sunday services at the Arca Christian community in Kunzelzau when visiting the grandparents. And countless evenings when they sat together on the sofa, read the Bible, and talked about the day. Now they were in their early 60s. Tino had retired 2 years ago. Evelin had completed her last translation half a year ago. Their hair had turned gray, but their eyes still shone, just as they had before. They lived more often in their old home region again, and had bought a small, bright house on the edge of Kunzelzau, with a view of the gentle Hohenlohe Hills and the Koker River in the distance. On a mild autumn afternoon, they sat on the terrace. The sun bathed the vineyards in golden light. Tino held Evelin's hand, as he had for over 50 years. On the table stood 2 cups of tea and an old photo album they had just been flipping through. Pictures from 6th grade, from the prom, from the small wedding in the Arca, of the 4 children as babies, as schoolchildren, as young adults. You remember, Evelin said softly and smiled, how I came into class as a shy girl back then? And the teacher simply said, "Then you sit next to Tino." I immediately felt safe. Even on that first day, I thought, I want to stay with him. Tino squeezed her hand a little tighter. His voice had become a bit rougher over the years, but still warm. And I, the fool, needed years to realize that you had been more than just my best friend for a long time. I simply thought that's what friendship is. Being able to talk about everything, complimenting each other, praying and laughing together. It was only in Heidelberg that I realized I had always loved you. That God had given us something very special from the beginning. They were silent for a moment. In the distance, you could hear the soft rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds. Evelin leaned her head on his shoulder. 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and now the first great-grandchild is on the way, she said with a happy sigh. You know what touches me the most? Not just that we made it together, but that so many people found their way to Jesus through us. The girlfriends I listened to in difficult marriage years, your study friends who sat in our home and suddenly asked why our love is so different. Some of them now go to the Arche or their own congregations. That is the most beautiful thing that has come from our story. Tino nodded slowly. We were never perfect. We argued, we cried, we sometimes doubted, but we never stopped forgiving each other and praying together. That kept us going. At that moment, Evelin's cell phone rang. It was her oldest daughter. With shining eyes, Evelin listened, laughed softly, and finally hung up. She's coming next weekend with the whole family, and she's bringing the ultrasound picture. The little grandchild is already clearly visible. Tino smiled broadly, stood up, and gently pulled Evelin to her feet. They took a few steps into the garden, hand in hand, just as they had done as 11-year-olds when he showed her the town. The wind brushed through the trees. The sun was low and cast long shadows. 50 years, Tino said softly. And it feels like it only started yesterday, with an empty chair in 6th grade. Evelin stopped, turned to him, and looked into his eyes. And it never ends, because God brought us together, and because we choose each other anew every day. They embraced for a long time. 2 people who had proven over an entire lifetime that a love that begins in childhood and grows with Jesus at the center can not only last, but become deeper and more beautiful. Many in their circle still admired them, not because of a perfect life, but because of their authenticity, their steadfastness, and the quiet strength of their faith. And when young couples asked them how to stay happily together for so long, they usually answered the same thing. Start early to really see each other, help each other, pray together, and let God write the rest. And so their afternoon ended like so many before, with gratitude, with a quiet prayer, and with the certainty. Their story was far from over. It simply continued, generation after generation, like a blessing that is passed on. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this story with me until the end. In a world that often feels cold and noisy, stories like this, profound, heartfelt, and full of faith, are so important. If you'd like more of these, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new one. Let me know in the comments how this story touched you. I really read every single comment. May God bless you with a wonderful day. See you soon.